Hello brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode here on Dangerous African Confessions HD. In this episode, we have the continuation of the story from our brother, who was revealing or confessing to us how his wife died as a pastor. And immediately after the death of his wife, he became so much powerful and famous. He told us already about how he was engaged in the work of the Lord and then grew in it, till she got married. He also revealed to us about how he met his old school friend who had also become a pastor, and his old school friend made a promise to him that he can help him so his church can grow. Now, this is one sad confession from our brother. Sometimes, we do allow ourselves to be deceived into things that turn to destroy us. And even goes a long way to affect our loved ones who are innocent and knows nothing about what we embark on. That is exactly what happened in this confession, where our brother shares with us about how he became so much powerful after the deal he made with the devil, even though he was a pastor and a father. In this continuation, we would know what happened after he had gone with his friend to see this spiritual person to pursue this evil journey of attaining power and fame, which resulted into the death of his wife. Without taking much of your time, let us go and listen to the continuation of his story. Don't forget to please subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload.
So, I went back and then did my 3 days fasting, and after going through with the fasting, we returned to him for the commencement of the necessary steps towards whatever he explained to me. My goal in this mission was to attract power and be known out there for the church to grow. That was all that I was looking for. To tell you the truth, I didn't need to go through any of these things, because my wife was working and was supporting me in every step of the way. And I did have my small business that I used to do also running. So, the little that we could do, we were doing it. But then, I guess seeing my friend and his people with the kind of life that they were living, it pushed me into doing things that I didn't think twice about. This very same thing that I didn't think through with it is what has brought me these whole problems in my life. My wife, who was pregnant and was almost due for delivery. And so, she had gone to her mother's house to spend some time there till she gives birth. When I had finished with the 3 days fasting and the day I was to return to him came, I went again with my friend. He had prepared everything for me and was just waiting for my return. He told me that I was going to stay in his place for a number of days till we are through with everything that we needed to do, before he will allow me to return. I told him I am okay with that, and so, he began to do some of the things that was fair for him to do. We were done with the second day and I was given this mat to go and sleep under a certain tree beside a river at the back of the house. He told me that I would be visited by angels and I should come to tell him what they would tell me. My friend took me to the riverside and left me there to be by myself. I slept there from 2 p.m. till it was around 11 p.m. thereabout, then sleep started to take over me. During that moment, I saw something that was like in a vision. And in that vision, I was sitting by a very big river as I was gazing towards the river. After some time, a very fair beautiful lady appeared to me and talked to me. She told me in that vision that whatever I was looking for could be mine if I follow any instructions that will be given to me. She said that and touched my forehead with the tip of her hand. And in the vision, I saw myself healing and delivering people from their problems. When after she took her finger off my forehead, she asked me if that wasn't what I wanted. And I answered in the vision that it was exactly that I was searching for. She smiled and told me to be still and walk with her according to the things that she was going to show and command me. For if I do all of that, everything that I have dreamt and imagined will be mine before I realized it. After she finished talking to me, she gave me a ring and told me to wear the ring anytime I am mounting the pulpit to minister. And the Spirit will come upon me for me to do whatever there is to do. She finished with me and I saw her entering the river. After some few moments, I saw a very dark cloud form in the sky and I could sense that there was something in the cloud calling me. I came back to myself lying by the river. After which I got up and went back to the house. It was like the spiritual man was waiting for me. He was seated with my friend in the living room. As I got there, he got up and told me to follow him. I followed him to this room, and the room was very dark. After some time in the room, he lit some candles in the room, and for the first time, I saw some structures and paintings like some these ancient artifacts in the room. There was this aura in the room that depicted some sense of some spirits in there. This man asked me to sit and cross my legs just he had done. After doing everything he asked me to do, he told me to repeat after him every word that he will say. These were some words that I had no idea what they meant. He slowly guided me to saying them. After everything, he lit up the candles and began to call on something to appear. After some few moments, the room felt as if it was packed with some heavy energy that I could not understand. I began to get frightening. The man noticed it and he stretched his hand and asked me to hold onto his hand. Few moments after that, something appeared on the wall just like the woman I had seen earlier in my vision. He welcomed it and that entity asked why he called her. He then told the entity that I was there for the entity to help me reach higher heights in my ministry. The entity commanded him to give me a ring just as I saw in the vision. After which it asked me if I was ready to excel in whatever I was doing. I answered yes, and I was asked to get up and kneel before the entity. Which I did. I was asked to swear allegiance to the entity and vow to do its bidding only. She told the man to make me write down the names of the people that I cherished most. I started with my mother's name and ended with my wife's. These are the only two people I wrote their names. Because they are the very people I have remaining in my life. I never knew that, writing the names, if I had written only one, it meant that I was giving the person away as my sacrificial lamb. When I finished writing the names, I was ordered to write my wife's own separate from my mother. Which I did. And after that, I was made to put the names, one in a different calabash and the other in another calabash. In all honesty, I didn't know what that really meant when I was going through with it. And so, I did just as I was told. After some few minutes of leaving the papers in each of the calabash, fire started to come out of the calabash. After some time, the man asked me to go out and wait for him in the living room. When he returned, he gave me a ring which was the same as the one I saw in my vision. That was when he asked me to narrate to him what I saw in my vision when I went to the riverside. When I finished telling him everything that I saw, he told me that my prayers and wishes has been answered. And when I returned back home, after the 3rd month, I will start to witness growth and increase in the numbers of my congregation. He now told me that, in about a period of 6 months later, whatever that I will witness, be it painful or happiness, I should know that, whatever I asked had been granted. He told me specifically that, for me to be accepted all over the place, it will be after that 6 months. And for the 3rd month increase, is for me to know that everything is going to go in my favor. Again, I was to visit there at the end of every year to offer my Thanksgiving gift for the energies for helping me throughout the year. After we left the place, my friend invited me again to meet some pastors he called were his brothers. When we were there, I realized they made reference to each other as brother. He introduced me to them and they also welcomed me to be a part of them. Within this period of the 3 months, just like the man had told me, I realized that people had started to come to the church in numbers. When my wife gave birth, I visited her with my mother at her mother's place. Everything seemed fine and she looked healthy. And my little child was also doing so well. It was 2 weeks after I visited them that her mother called me that she wasn't well and she had been taken to the hospital. She said that, after every test done by the doctors, they said there was nothing really medically wrong with her. So, what they did was that, they admitted her at the hospital so that they can monitor her. So, I told my mother-in-law that I will rush to her the very next morning. Unfortunate for me, I didn't get there to see her alive. I got there, and I saw the mother and some few members of the family crying and mourning her. Just like that, my wife had died. Without me even knowing that, I had sacrificed her in my pursuit for fame and power. Something that I currently don't need anymore. Even though I had some money, my friend together with his other friend pastors, did help me raise enough money to cover the funeral of my wife without stressing the family. After her death in about 6 months, I noticed the sudden change in the way I was ministering in the church. And a sudden shift in the numbers of my church. It was as if something was covering the church and now it has been removed. In no time, my church was seating enough members and I had to put up tents at the compound of the church. So, later, I extended the end of the building to accommodate the large numbers that were coming. Everything was going on well, even to the extent of me having my own TV network where I do broadcast the church activities. I was by this point in my industry, going from one program to the other. Every program that I was built to minister, prophetic, signs and wonders were all over. My ministry had become synonymous with prophetic and healing. Soon, I was mingling with the top men of God in the country. Money was now not a problem for me in any way. I could practically afford anything that I wanted to have. I made sure that my boy lacked nothing growing. He was just living like a prince in his own palace. It got to a time that I wanted to marry, so that the woman can take care of the house for me and even help with my child. I saw this particular lady that I wanted to settle down with. And so, I invited her over to my house one day. It was in the evening around 7 p.m. Some few moments after she had left my house, I could feel some strange steps in the house. For about some few moments, I didn't hear it again, so just when I had gone to sleep, I started seeing my dead wife angrily asking me why I could do that to her. So, when I woke up, I was confused and didn't understand any of the dreams that I was having. The dreams and vision about my dead wife threatening me continued for a while. I told my friend about it and he told me that we should all go to his spiritual father and see what was going on. We went there and the man told me that there is nothing that he can do about it. Because if I want to have my peace, then I should forget about trying to marry again. Because my dead wife's spirit will never allow that to happen. I honestly wanted to know why she wouldn't allow me to remarry. But then, he didn't explain any further to me, and told me to go and come back on a date that he told me. When I got home, my mother called me that the pastor who raised me was calling me. I did honor that invitation and went to him. That was when he told me that the Lord has revealed to him about me having a hand in the death of my wife. And it was a sacrifice that took me to the heights that I was enjoying now. He wanted to know why I would do that. He narrated to me just how it happened when I went to the man the first time. He told me that the name that I did put in the calabash, it was only my wife's own that really burnt. And that meant that I had chosen my wife as the price for whatever power I went for. When I left the pastor's house, I called my friend and I met him. I asked why he could do that to me and wouldn't be open about it to me. He told me that everything and even went on to tell me that, even him, he sacrificed his first son before he got where he was. Then I got to realize that all the other pastors, who we were meeting here and there, are all part of the occultism group. I told him that I wanted to end whatever covenant that I had with the man and even the entity. He told me that it is not possible to end it, whilst I have already enjoyed from the blessings she had offered me. I told him to watch me walk out of it. That was when I went back to the pastor who raised me and asked him to help me seek the face of the Lord. And I am still seeking the face of the Lord. It is my plan that I will go before my members and tell them everything there is to tell them, and ask for their forgiveness. Please, my brother, I want people to use my story as a lesson. You cannot trust human being for anything aside the Lord that made you. He only knows you and what He has for you in this life. Please, don't rush and make these unpardonable mistakes, which later can cause you even the very life that you have. Please learn to wait upon the Lord, regardless of whatever you are doing. There is nothing that you can gain without a consequence, if it is not from the Lord. Thank you.
Like I always say, these are not just stories for story's sake. They are meant for us not to make these mistakes our brothers and sisters are making. That's why we share these stories with you. After listening to this story, I will say that there's something that seems to be common amongst most of the stories that we are hearing. Let us please be mindful of the kind of friends that we associate ourselves with. It is more like they always get into these things through the influence of friends, and the kind of life that seems to always attract their attention. I honestly wish the youth of these days will understand what I am talking about. And do listen to some of the important lessons in these stories that we share. Money, fame and power are important in human life. Yes, it is true that we cannot do without it. But please, we should understand that money and all those things are not the only means to an end. I honestly think that this generation are really becoming a generation that if we do not sit up and really get to understand the living spirit of Christ, we will be heading for a doom. Why do you start a church and say that God has called you to do His work, and end up in seeking for powers from a different source rather than the one that sent or called you? You see, the devil has many of his people pretending to be the very select of God, all in an attempt to deceive many unto himself. Let us be wise and vigilant in our walk in the faith. I just hope that we honestly take the important lessons from these stories to better our lives and decisions. When you listen to his story carefully, you realize that he had a very solid foundation from his parents, which should have been his guidebook in his walk with the Lord. He did give a very beautiful advice. And so, I wouldn't want to go much into anything again. I pray that we learn from some of these stories and live a better life. If not for anything at all, it pays to live a decent and better life. Stay blessed and be safe. Thanks for being a part of this growing family. Kindly share your thought with us in the comment section below. And if you are new here, please subscribe, like and share.